Welcome everyone to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst radio network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. Find them at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your questions and comments. Please use DJ at ArtistFirst.com. And now here they are. It's the legendary Michael and Margaret Lyons.
The legendary. I think we're just going to own that.
Oh, gee.
And I am Michael Lyons.
Yes, he is. And I'm Margaret.
A legend in my own mind.
That's right.
And Margaret is legendary.
You can stop that now. Okay.
And we are back. We took an extended vacation to Borneo.
Goodness gracious.
We did not do that. We were off for a little bit. But now we're back and raring to go.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to get creative tonight.
Yes, we are.
That's right.
Yes.
So everyone pick up your pencils. We're going to do a Bob Ross tonight.
Okay.
It's a happy little bush.
Well, he's very calming to a lot of people.
He was on Prozac.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure. He should have been. He was very calming.
He was very calming to a lot of people. I loved listening to him.
I am not that.
Okay.
I'm the anti-Bob Ross. Bob Ross's evil twin, Betsy.
Betsy Ross?
Betsy. Well, he could be.
She was sitting there sewing stars.
Yeah, that could be calming.
I see. Okay.
All right, now we got to get back to it. So we are going to be talking tonight about creativity. And I would say that of all of the purest of human forces is the creative force, and perhaps the most common and basic function that you see in the universe around you, to the point where it is almost invisible by fact of its ubiquity, of the fact that it's so universal, is the creative force. When you look out even into the universe. Take away the earth, just look out into the universe. There is a constant force, a constant creative envelope, which is happening literally in front of your eyes all the time. The universe is in the act of creation. There was a beginning to the universe. We all know that, whether it was yesterday or 13.8 billion years ago. Really doesn't matter from a thermodynamic or a quantum physical point of view, okay? Because time is sort of an emergent property, or at least that's one of the theories of time. But and to digress for a second, that agrees very beautifully with the present moment. The present moment is a timeless moment, and the timeless moment of now is dimensionless. If you look at the universe as being just now, but as you look into it through the lens of time, you see that creation is not a static event that happened at a particular time, that it's happening all the time, that the universe is constantly in a state of creation. It's a present tense sort of thing. And you see it then, bring it a little further, bring it a little closer, you see it all around you. The fact that the earth itself is continually recreating itself. Nothing ever stays the same. Then the living things on the earth are always recreating themselves. That force of creation, is like a standing wave in the universe. It literally is the thing that is happening all the time in each moment of now. And then if you personalize that, Margaret, you bring it down to yourself, the act which fulfills a being, I believe, most completely is the creative act. And it's not a particular thing. It's really anything. But there are few, I would say none, but I won't be so absolute. I'll say there are very few things in your life that you can literally look back on and be as fulfilled and complete as possible that are not creative acts. And when you engage in the act of creation, you enter, if you're truly doing it, let's say, right, you enter into a timeless moment. And that's what we're going to try and talk about this evening is that what is that? What is that whole process? And what is happening at the creative moment, at the moment when inspiration, when grace flows into you and then through you in a creation, in a creation stream, if you will, or creation flow.
In the moment of creating.
Mm.
There was a quote that someone had, for creativity, defining creativity. It was by someone named Rollo May, psychologist, I guess. Creativity is the process of bringing something new into being. It brings to our awareness what was previously hidden and points to new life. And that I thought was marvelous, because new life, whenever creation comes, what you're trying for is something that hasn't existed before, or a combination of things in a new way to express a whole new aspect of what was in front of you. So seeing the creativity in an individual, I can speak, come forth. In other words, you're watching someone participating in the creative process. It's always fascinating because you can see that they go inward and they begin to pull from different skill sets that they may have developed, or memories of things, or trying to draw an emotion forward to express it in a whole different way, whether it be singing, whether it be music, whether it be poetry, or writing, painting. You know, it's just, I love watching anyone putting things together and completely focused on the task at hand. It's just beautiful.
You know, something you mentioned there, I just want to kind of touch upon that. There's a difference between just working at something, you know, maintenance, sweeping, doing whatever, and creating. and I would put a fine point upon it. The act of creation, as the psychologist, I don't remember the name, Rollo said, of course, Rollo, our buddy, the act of creating is not merely the act of, you know, manipulating an object or moving oneself, you know, through a set of tasks. It requires, and I think this is the key that you mentioned, it requires a moment of stillness and inspiration, a crystallization of a concept, and then engaging your other skills in order to express that concept. But I believe it's really two steps. You aren't just, you know, maybe you're really good at typing, but just being really good at typing doesn't make you a poet or a writer.
Right.
But the mechanisms of typing in and of themselves, you can be incredibly skilled at those types of mechanisms. And you could say, well, I have great fingers for typing. But that doesn't make you, you know, able to transform just that skill and those mechanical movements into, I don't know, Shakespeare or something. The skill to do it, to do the writing or do the painting, you can train for years to be a good typist. You can train for years to understand how to apply a brush to a canvas. And this is incredibly important. And, you know, you see people who are great artists, and you say they're also great artisans. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, they're not unskilled. But the skill is secondary. It's the vehicle, and the primary skill of a creator is to do that act that you just said. It's the revelation of something which is hidden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you bring something new into the world, it means that it wasn't there before. It's truly something unique. It's something which is of yourself, or of a new thing in and of itself, a new thing. I don't say of yourself always, because when you bring a child into the world, it's not of yourself, but
right.
It is a new thing. It's a new embodiment.
Well, you help. It's an amazing feeling to know that you help bring this new life into the world. And that new life is its own,
Mm-hmm.
has its own destiny. But to know that you are there with it and helping in the process of it coming to a maturity where it, or he or she, begins to participate in creation itself. And it's marvelous, because play always, to me, is akin to creativity. Just playing spontaneously, not planned out. You might have, as children, as you're learning, you're put into an environment where suddenly you can explore. Playing is an extension of the soul wanting to explore what it means to interact with this physical world, how things function and flow. And the creativity comes in once those principles, a baby's holding something and just drops it. It's like, oh, things go down. Or beginning to understand that you can stack things and then they knock them down. This is the beginning of that process of participating with the world, and then begin to make something you hadn't made before. So I love that. I think that's just amazing.
And that revelatory aspect, truly uncovering or discovering. Play is the mechanisms of play are discovery. They're why is a child so delighted when he or she or it finds a new thing to them? I turn this and something over there happens, or I stack these things and I push them and it falls this way or that way, and they're delighted with this just unexpected or just not anticipated consequence of an action. So that idea of exploring is akin, I would say, very much so akin to the creative aspect. In exploring your universe, you're educating your own experiential kind of field.
Right.
You're saying, well, where am I? What is this? What are all these things? How do I fit in here? And then the act of saying, okay, well now, even though all this has been experienced, and you haven't experienced everything that it could be, but everything that you have experienced has a certain amount of presence, a certain amount it's been done before, but it's new to you. So there's a certain amount of excitement in just experiencing these things. But then I believe within, I'll say human beings, but within beings in general, there's this idea of there's something more here. There's all these things that I see before me, and yet within me there's this need to add to it. And it's not just rearranging this. The work portion would be just cleaning it or rearranging it or, stacking the books or whatever. Okay, that's all great, fine, great things. But when you find that there's a lack, that the universe isn't complete. And I would say this is the general principle of the universe from the very beginning. It isn't done. It isn't completed in creation. It's in the act of creation all the time. Mm-hmm. So you when you link up to that part of yourself which says, I, the being, the greater I, have something to bring in as well as bring out. So we talk a lot about, incarnating into the world with purpose to experience, but you're also there to act upon the world, to bring something unique into the universe, which is yourself, mm-hmm. and that which you can bring from source through yourself in your own unique way, because your frequency is unique from all other frequencies. Your energies are unique. Your viewpoint, your encapsulation of the universe is unique. And so it says there's something lacking here. What's lacking? Me, my touch, my uniqueness. I wish to we've heard this many times, make a mark upon the world. Express something which is uniquely personal in such a way that I can share it. I can put myself into an external form.
Right.
And, all great art is exactly that. The creator in a moment of revelatory, in a moment of revelatory source, of a flow of creation, makes a mark upon the world, the universe, which expresses not just themselves. It's not just a mirror copy. It's more. It's greater than. That's the other thing about creation, creative acts, is it's always 1 + 1 = infinity. It transcends the physical being. It transcends even the being itself. It's more than just you. You're allowing source to come through you. And what is left behind is you plus,
Well, yes. The beginnings and learnings of this participation, and you're getting the foundation by which you can begin to create something different, something new. And it may just be new to you, which is fine, because that's just the participation. But it is teaching you what process means.
Yeah.
There is a beginning, a middle, and an end to what you do. And you decide where this goes. So a very basic core experiential things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And frankly, as you get older, you kind of begin to take it all for granted. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, what is the motivation for this? Why the exploration? What is going on in the human soul that pushes you or gives you the impetus to want to create? We just say, the creative process, but examining yourself internally, it's like, what is the foundation of this? And I have a different quote that I'd like to present. It's
is this the Tolle?
No, this is Todd Thrash and Andrew Elliott. They're again authors and psychologists. But this statement, I guess they made together. The heights of human motivation spring from the beauty and goodness that precede us and awaken us to better possibilities. And you think about that. It's like, why am I doing this? Because this is it's revealing something I had not seen before, and I appreciate it for its beauty or goodness that internally my heart brings my heart joy. Your heart sings when you truly are part of a creative process and you've made something that resonates with your soul. For you, it doesn't matter whether or not anybody else recognizes it. The satisfaction is that suddenly there's a resonance of my soul that I have expressed in this outward world. Almost, how do I say it? A reflection. I've created something that reflects a part of me, a core part of me.
And as this is very important, I like exactly what you said. It said it doesn't matter. It is not essential that others even appreciate your creation.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that you said, and I think this is also very important, is that in taking in experience and in appreciating the creation of another, it awakes within you or reveals within you a desire to create. So I think it's extremely important to say that within all beings there is a latent creative force.
Yes.
And I think this is, we could say it's axiomatic, but the creative force is engendered, is embodied within your spirit, and it is a reflection or an emanation of source creation. So you are, one of the ways that you can very easily say that you are of source is that you have within you the aspects that are source. You have within you the creative flame.
Well, if I could just interject for a second. Expression. Everybody wants to be able to express what is in them. The freedom of expression was always so dear. And when that's taken away, it not crushes the soul, but it begins to curtail.
Wounds.
Yeah, curtail the expansion and growth of a soul. And creative expression had always been a part of the human experience or condition. It is essential for us to be able to do this in order to be happy or satisfied with our lives. If you run into someone who has never had any form of self-expression at all, it's a sad state.
Well, you can go back to as far back as we've been able to detect in human prehistory. You see evidence of artistic creation, of expression of the being in materials which are of the world.
Right.
So it's the interface in essence between spirit, embodiment, and then the universe itself, which is a reflection of that embodiment of creation. So you have within you this latent creative force. I believe when you perceive the creations of others, or sometimes if you just look upon the creation itself all around you, it awakens that desire to do the same, to create, to express, as you just said. There's a need to express your being in more than just your word or more than just your actions. You want to put it into the physical, into the extracorporeal, if you will. And part of that is becoming skilled in being able to do that well. But even, and when you see a child creating something for the very first time, it can be an unskilled work. But you can detect whether it was just something that was scribbled down by rote or that there was truly an inspiration, however imperfectly realized in the physical. Because because there's something more and this is, I think, something which is interesting about creative acts, is that another being witnessing or seeing the evidence of a creative act can feel the energy that was used, the frequency that was used in that creation. It's part of why something which is truly created with inspiration from source echoes down through the centuries. You have done more than just assembled a lump of clay. It's not just a rock that fell off a mountain and looks like something. There is truly a spark of source divine energy which has transformed a piece of the full creation, that which came from source, and expressed that unique portion of it, that emanation which is your being, and given it life. You said it earlier, though, when you do the creative act, you're channeling life into something which prior to that was lifeless.
Right.
It was, I wouldn't say completely lifeless, but it had a presence which you have modified with your own presence.
Right. You've enlivened
it.
Right.
In doing that, when someone other looks upon that, they can feel you, whether they know you or not. They feel you, and that's why even a small child's imperfect creation, you can look at it and say, "Yes, I can see that this truly was a creative act, not just scribbling." And you can appreciate it and connect to them through that.
Right. And there's a lot of joy that happens in that process.
Mm.
It's a quiet joy, which I don't think that we acknowledge well to ourselves. And once it's done, there's also the satisfaction of having done this. So it's in the simple things where you're participating in bringing something about that you had never done before. And when it's done, just appreciating that this was something that you had a hand in.
Mm.
And I believe that it's just foundational for every human being to be able to participate in something that they truly enjoy, where you're in that moment and in that act of creation, the joy comes up. So you truly enjoy what it is that you are participating in. And that's part of the process. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Mm.
What I'm trying to say is that only comes about in process. It's not a thing.
Mm.
It is something that you put your hand to. It's like watching when someone is singing a song that they truly enjoy. Again, they're doing it because that's the expression that the soul needs to sing at that moment. And realizing that every moment of your existence, every moment of your day is actually whether or not you participate in that creative moment, enjoying it.
Mm.
Presence is key at that point.
You know, the word enjoying is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think you made it particularly correctly emphasis. You enjoy something by placing joy within it. You know, it's not that the thing brings you joy. It's a two-way street with joy.
Well, I'm not sure if you place joy within it. It's a natural result or flowering of participating in the moment. It is part of the process. It is part of living.
Mm.
And you can choose to enjoy it or not.
But and here's the other thing, which is, I think all of us have had this experience. When you watch someone else in the act of creation, as they enjoy it, the joy spills over. It's shared. You can enjoy their joy, if you will. When you watch a child building something, and it's not just by rote, it's literally coming through from source, through them, their own creative spark. They're doing something. Has it never been done before? Not by them. And the joy that they're experiencing is so infectious that you can watch them do it and feel their joy and see that their being is so totally absorbed in that process, in that act, that in and of itself is a tremendous reward. Then the creation, the final result, it may not be the most perfect thing that was ever done, but the process and the result are entwined but not the same thing. The process of creation, when we look back at the biblical creation story, there's many steps to creation, the 6 days of creation. But on the seventh, it says God rested. Well, God appreciated would be another good way of putting that. God looked back and said, it's good. God is looking down upon his creation in the same way that the process brought joy, but then the creation also brings joy. Even the finishing of a creation has the joy encapsulated within it.
Right. And that goes back to the other quote I was talking about. The heights of human motivation spring from the beauty and goodness that precede us and awaken us to better possibilities. So it is God looking back at the creation and saying, it is good, and there is beauty there. And we, as his children, are capable of participating in that moment of creation in our own way. We are in the creation and experiencing the world as a process. And what are the myriad of possibilities that can happen given all of this around us as potential creations. It's a marvelous, children look at life this way. They wake up in the morning, they go, okay, I'm going to do something.
and the possibilities are endless. And this is that appreciation of, it's another appreciation of the moment of now, because in the moment of now, every moment of now can be a moment of creation or can be involved in the creative act. And if you stay there, there are many pathways to the moment of now, but I think a very good one is understanding that in the moment of creation, it is timeless. I'm sure I'm not wrong to say that everyone at one point in their life has experienced this sort of timeless moment of creation, and in that moment, you have nothing but your being, your presence. You're right there, right between your eyes. You're right there in the moment of doing that expression, of flowing with that grace. And it is a incredible joy which doesn't need the word joy even, if you know what I mean. You don't need to say things, I'm enjoying this. You don't even need to say that to yourself. It just is. In that timeless moment of creation and now, you are enjoying yourself so completely that the word joy doesn't even occur to you.
Well, it can't actually encapsulate what you're feeling.
Right.
That's when you realize that the words fall short.
Yes.
And living life and understanding the experience as a process, words always fall short. And you do your best. And many times, again, in that creative moment, you try to communicate this experience in some way, shape, or form. So again, it is revealing something that had been hidden. And it's a marvelous thing because that means that you're participating in the eternal mystery of life. You know, people say, well, what is life? Or define it. And you're like, no, you can't. Because you're trying to define a process. And if you are truly participating in a process, words fall short.
Exactly. And, you know, again, going back to the creation story and the fact that, you know, in that story, which is beautifully written and very poetic, you notice that in the beginning, there's a void. There is nothing.
Nothingness, yes.
There's nothingness. And then the waters, but still it's in darkness. And then the light. And then you breathe upon the waters and stir them. And then you raise up the land. You understand that the creative processes require this kind of step by step. But you start from an incredibly unique point, the stillness of nothing. You know, it's often said that the artist sees the creation upon the blank canvas or on the stone before even the first chip or the first brush stroke,
right,
or the writer looks at the page. That's the key of creation. The key of the beginning of creation is to clear yourself completely. You open not the whole universe as a void, but you open a void within yourself and let inspiration come in. Then the void within yourself is where the first creative act happens.
Yes.
The thing that you are creating is born within you and then brought out through your skills, through your hands, through your mind, through your eye, through your words, into the physical. So that, and Tolle says this, we haven't talked about Tolle, but the true creativity, his quote, flows from the stillness. It is the realization of the void and letting it be a void, and then letting source energy come in through your being and fill that void. And then you say, here is the thing that I wish to express. Here it is, within me, within my being. Now, I try to, with the best skill I have, with years of training, to express it, because that's part of it, but it has to move through you and be realized within you before it even puts one stroke, one dab of paint or clay. None of that is the creative process, except as it's expressed. The first creation is within you.
If you don't mind, I would like to read Genesis 1.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
Well, how about that?
Well, it's an amazing, if you think of it in terms of how creation happens for a human being as a process. It's an amazing synopsis?
Yeah.
Okay. Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God said that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. Let the water, and God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And so it was so. God called the dry ground land, and gathered water he called sea. And God saw that it was good. Next is the trees, and then So let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on earth, to govern the day and night, and separate light from darkness. And God saw it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. So he creates the canvas in which his creatures, because the fifth day was bringing the creatures in, and allow things to produce. And the sixth day, of course, man came on the scene.
But again, this process, within the being, within the source, within God, the concept of the creation was already born.
Mm-hmm.
And then bringing it in is exactly that, shaping the void. The waters are, the beautiful thing is the waters are first. Mm-hmm. The void and the waters. So you have the void, nothing, then the waters, then, the breath stirs the waters. This whole process flows through us to this day.
Right.
And when any being sets out to create, they flow through these steps in one form or another. That, the idea of looking upon a blank canvas,
mm-hmm.
it's a void.
Yes.
And people say, well, what do I do now? And that's not the question. The question that you ask yourself is, and it's not even a question, you just say, I open myself to source. I want that inspiration to come in. And it comes in, and it fills that void. And you can appreciate your whole creation. Look at Stephen Hawking. The whole beautiful concept that he was able to express mathematically and then with his words, all was built within him. Mm-hmm. in a ruined body that could barely speak, hardly move, had to be assisted even to make the slightest of sounds. That didn't matter.
Right.
From the point of view of could he put symbols on a chalkboard? No. But all that came into him through source in his being, and then he found a way to express it through great trial and tribulation to get the creative act out. It's so essential. It's as essential as breathing to do this, to perform this act of creation. Mm-hmm. It's really the most divine act we do.
Mm-hmm. And when you realize that your life, as you move through it, you create your life. And creating your life means that you look around and see what is possible, but understanding that what you're seeing, what opportunities, what possibilities are around you, it comes from what you're willing to see. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
I like that.
Because your mindset puts blinders around certain things. You're it's not even on your field of creativity. And when you really are in the creative process, you go past those boundaries to see something different that was hidden from you before. Mm-hmm. So the creative act allows your perspective to widen, broaden, and ignites inside of you any talents or gifts that reside in you because it needs expression. But you must be open to give that through.
It's an act of volition, and to open yourself that way. There's something I also want to touch upon. And I think this is very germane. Here one of the acts of creation, of course, is the creation of another human being.
Yes.
Now, before Scott gets a bunch of letters, no, we're not creating a being. We're opening a void through which a new being embodies itself within flesh.
Well,
but I just wanted. I know it's slightly wrong, but the point is that being, that creation, becomes independent of its creator. The most pure act of creation is that once you create this new thing, it doesn't belong just to you anymore. It is in and of itself a new thing. There is a difference between something which is created out of mere, it doesn't have its own spirit, and something which is created which has its own being and its own presence. That is the purest form of creation. But it's the same act. You have to open that void. You have to open yourself to something which is beyond yourself in order to allow a new spirit to come in.
It's opening a field or potential, maybe that's a better word. You're touching back into potential. And in order to bring potential into an active role, you must create a space by which that potential can enter in. So since you create the space to be filled by the potential, it's defined as a void.
Yeah.
So understanding that humans in general have that superpower to create a space which can be filled by a potential. And it is much better if the potential is something of your choosing. Conscious choosing to fill that void so that you can participate actively in creation. Maybe we should read Tolle's quote.
Yeah. You want to go for it?
Sure. Okay. True creativity flows only from stillness. When stillness becomes conscious, the spiritual dimension enters your life, and you begin to be guided by an intelligence far greater than your own mind.
And the interesting thing there is people, you might say, well, this intelligence, which is far greater than the human mind, is your being, is your connection to source. The human mind is a lovely instrument, but it is not the source of creativity.
Right.
It's all the skills that you need in order to express yourself, your words, your manual skills, your dexterity, your abilities to do anything that affects the physical, is guided and ordered by the mind. The mind is that beautiful instrument that allows you to interface very succinctly and completely with the world. But it is not your being. It is not your connection to source. You can't think your way to God. People have tried for centuries,
yeah.
And they run up against the wall. And the wall is, God is incomprehensible. God does not make sense. He does not compute. But you step beyond that. You go into your consciousness and you realize that you are a part of this. You are an emanation of source. The mind cannot comprehend it. The mind says it's a mystery. But the being says, but it's correct. And it's it's absolutely right. The heart knows that it's true without the mind giving it the stamp of, oh yes, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Don't misunderstand me. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a beautiful thing and very, very necessary, but it's not creative. It's a process.
Well, no, it's a description of a process.
Yes, exactly.
It's
even
not
better.
even the process.
Right.
When you understand the symbols are descriptions, they are not the process.
Right.
They describe a process, just as language tries to describe a process.
Right.
So when you understand that language itself is a tool, but the core of what you wish to communicate or explore is the process of creation within yourself. Maybe that was too broad.
No, because, and this is why words fail, and why we have so many of them.
Got lots of words.
We have lots of words.
Lots of them.
If you delve deep into the the vast depths of vocabulary, you will find that there are words that are so subtly different from each other. They're almost interchangeable, but the key word is almost. Each one of these words, and if you go into multiple languages, German's a great one. The Germans have beautiful words for expressions. There's also a few that I know of in Japanese, and I'm sure many other languages, that capture something which you have to say in English with 4 or 5 words in one word. Schadenfreude is a wonderful word. It's very German. It's the delight in seeing an opponent's failure. But I have to say in English, the delight in seeing an opponent's failure. But Schadenfreude is the word. And the Germans are like, yes, I'm enjoying the hell out of this. Let's make a word for it. But the point is that within language, and I love language, being a writer and a reader really before a writer, the appreciation of the subtle nuances of words is a beautiful thing, but we have a lot of them. The reason we have so many, even so many names of colors, there's millions upon millions of names for shades of colors. Why? Couldn't they all just be pink? Yes, but that's not enough. That's not enough.
So subtleties,
because language, it strives so desperately to exactly describe something, but it's still just a description.
Right. Well, we as humans are trying to communicate this to another person, what our experience is, but realizing that each experience is unique, even if the two people may have had the exact same experience.
Right.
Their way of looking at it, and that was part of that creative process, looking at the possibilities as well as the potential that's there. What is it that you pick up? That creates your interaction and then defines what your life actually is.
Right.
So you are the guiding force, because you can come into a whole field and choose something so completely different from the person next to you. It's like watching children in a room that has many blocks and toys. And they come in and you see them. They immediately hone in on something specific. And it's not necessarily together that they do. They're like, this is what I want to explore. This is what I want to touch. This is what I want to build with. This is what I want to knock down. Off they go. You do the same thing. The room is set up the same. But when you step into it, what is it that you are attracted to? What do you want to look at? And when you break it down, it's like, well, what is my motivation for going there? Some children might, okay, this makes a really loud sound. I want to go do that.
But here's the interesting thing, Margaret. If you ask somebody why they picked up a particular thing, and they try to express it as exactly as possible, they'll find that the words will start to fail.
Yes.
And they'll just say, well, I just wanted to. Well,
Right.
but in fact, the creative process, the experiential creative process, always fails at exactly replicating what is within the void within you, within your spirit.
Right.
But you try your best to find the perfect word, or the perfect sequence of words, or the perfect colors on a canvas, or the perfect sculpture, or whatever it is,
Right.
whatever the act happens to be, is a reflection of your unique universe, which is within your unique being,
Mm-hmm.
which is going back, all of us, back to the emanations of Source, which is also that which created all things.
Well,
You are part of that.
yes, the vastness of consciousness is incomprehensible to the human mind. And because of it, you have to begin to realize that you are a unique piece of that consciousness.
Indeed.
And no one else can be you.
Thank God.
And we have reached the end of our hour.
We have created a masterpiece.
Yes, we have.
And I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret. And thank you for listening.